teacher is the one that knows. Hey, y'all. This is Earl Purdy. I want to welcome you to A Course in Miracles, A Course in Right Answers, A Course in the Expression of Love, A Course in Forgiveness. And we're going to be talking about how you need to, I put it this way. We're going to be talking about how you can recognize that your problems have been solved. Whatever it is that you think your problem is right now, whatever it is that you think is your issue, whatever that may be, we're going to talk about how you can recognize that problem has been solved. I'm so happy to have you here online. I'm happy to have you here in person. And the happiest time of the week for me is when I get a chance to hear some sanity. When I get a chance to hear things that are other than what I see in the newspaper, see on the news, see on social media, hear people talking about, regular people. I'm so glad that we have given ourselves this island or this little oasis of sanity and truth that we can focus on in the midst of our own ego and in the midst of all of the fearful, separate, divisive thinking that we're dealing with in our experience. So I want to thank you for coming. I'm looking forward to hearing what it is I need to learn today. Let me get you all up online so I can be able to see my folk online and respond to them also. Always trips me out when I see myself. Well, actually, it's not me. It's really my body. I almost, after 44 years of teaching and studying the course, I actually feel self-conscious thinking of myself as the body that people are looking at. So when I look at a picture or a movie, and I'm tempted to say that's me, I've been so reprogrammed that I have a switch that goes off when I say stuff that's coming from the ego. It literally inside of me goes, it doesn't feel right. Like immediately whenever I say anything that I learned from the world or a worldly perspective, my inner being clenches. And because I've studied the Course in Miracles so long, I've read this book from cover to cover at a minimum 200 times. And every time I go through it, it blows my mind more than the last time. Because what I realize is that I'm more willing to accept the truth that it's teaching, so now I can really see more of what it's saying. So it's like peeling an onion, and every time I go through it, there are things I can see. I tell people often who are just beginning to study the Course that you read the text, for instance, the first time all the way through, just so you can now read the text for the first time all the way through. Because usually, unless you use some type of spiritual genius, in that case, you probably don't need it. You'll realize later that you so misinterpreted 90% of everything that you were reading because you were giving it your interpretation of what you thought that should mean based on what you've learned in other things. That's why I ask people when they come to the Course class and listen to my videos, just for a minute, suspend the other stuff that you think you know or you think you're studying, and because if you're comparing it with the Course, then you're probably going to get disoriented about some things and get confused. So just let yourself hear what the Course is saying on its own. Let it stand on its own. And the other thing I like to share is that I am really about the practical application of the Course in Miracles in your everyday life. So I'm not that much focused on the abstract theoretical framework of the Course. For me is, how can I take this and use it on the holidays, right? Because we give ourselves those tests a lot of times to see how much we can practice what we've been learning if we're spiritual, metaphysical, truth students, and we call those final exams Thanksgiving or Christmas holidays. That's their code name. You know, when we have those interactions a lot of times with family, whether that's the family you were born into or the family you've chosen, usually you all get together at some level. And so you get a chance to see how much you can practice the things that the Course is saying. So what you could always tell yourself, especially if you have any kind of fear or apprehension about spending time with your relatives, it say, let me recognize my problems with my relatives have been solved. Let me recognize this issue I've been having with my mama for the last 300 years. That's been solved. Let me recognize that this health problem or issue has been solved. Let me recognize the separation issue has been solved. Let me recognize the problem so the problem can be solved. I always like to put stuff in a rhythm because it helps me remember it. And I got my good friend here today, Tammy. She's known me for 30-something years. And so she knows I'm a slow learner.
Still here.
So let me recognize the problem so the problem can be solved. Let me recognize the problem so the problem can be solved. Let me recognize the problem so the problem can be solved. If you're reading the Course in Miracles, you want to read the Course in Miracles slowly. Slowly. It's not a magazine. It's not a novel. You want to read it slowly. If you are willing to recognize your problems, you will recognize that you have no problems. If you are willing to recognize your problems, which the Course calls injustices. I think that's interesting. That the description of a problem from a Course in Miracles perspective is it's unfair. I went, wow, that's deep. And unfairness is what a problem is, because the Course in Miracles teaches you don't deserve to suffer for any reason ever, because you are so loved and you're so lovable. And Spirit, God, your Creator, loves you 100%. So you don't deserve to suffer, to have what you think of as problems. But I got that damn ego. What is my ego? The ego is I have this sense that I'm on my own. I've got to take care of myself. I've got to pay my bills. I got to figure things out. I got my personal history from childhood. I got all the beliefs that I was taught about everything. I have some guilt. I have some anger. I have some fear issues, broken in two by periods in which I go to the movies. I have a sense of myself as being a body. I think I'm something that has a limited time to live, and I got a birthday coming up next week, so I got less time. I do. With each birthday, I have less time in the body. You know, so I figured I like to procrastinate, so I thought I'd cram everything into the last 20 years. So now I'm on it. Y'all have no idea. I wake up reading, I go, just in case there is a hell. I claim Jesus as my Savior. I've admitted I'm a sinner. I'm covered. I'm coming from that angle, and I'm coming from the Course angle, which I also am willing to claim Jesus of the Course, of the innocent, my spiritual teacher, brother, elder, as my Savior. And I admit, if being a sinner means I sometimes forget, sometimes attack, sometimes feel afraid, sometimes forget to be loving and fearful, and if I think I'm separate, then in that sense, yeah, I am.
Me too.
Yeah. Matter of fact, the most fun I've ever had in my life was when I was sinning. That's the truth. What I thought of as a sin. That's what I mean. Not that I say there is sin. You understand what I'm saying? It used to be whatever I thought I enjoyed when I grew up in fundamental religion was the sin. If I danced, if I played, if anything, you know. And so it seemed like to me being spiritual was extremely boring. I was not turned on by hearing about going to a place where the streets are paved with gold and there are just people sitting around playing harps. I want to hear some funk. I want to go, if I was going to be there, I want to hear some rhythm and blues, dancing, jamming music. You know what I'm saying? When somebody would try to describe to me what my happiness was supposed to be like, then I didn't resonate to that. I think you can have some of the most spiritual experiences you've ever had in your life on the dance floor. I did last night. Right? So really, let's say I thought I had a problem with thinking I was a sinful person or a separate person or a bad person. If I'm willing to recognize that problem, I'll see that I really don't have that problem. I'm really not sinful. I'm really not guilty. I'm really not bad. I'm really not separate from love. I'm really not separate from God. So if I was willing to actually recognize what I was saying my problem is, then I would recognize I have no problem. So if you have not recognized your problem, you will still think you have it. So if you think you know what your problem is, but you still seem to have that problem or issue based on this, you're fooling yourself. You haven't really recognized what the real problem is. The problems in the world don't seem to be solved because we don't know what the real problem is, even if we think we do. If we loved each other, if we cared about somebody other than just ourselves, we wouldn't have the problems that we have. There's enough food on the planet to feed everybody on the planet today, right now. So unity, the problem is ultimately separation. Me not knowing my connection with my source, God, Spirit, and me not really knowing my connection with you. If you got a financial problem, you got separation from money or your abundance. That's separation. If I got a health problem, it's a separation from believing that I'm healthy. It's not any problem you can bring up that you couldn't reduce it to there's some form of separation happening. The problem is separation. So he's saying, if you are willing to recognize your problems, you will recognize that you have no problems. Your one central problem has been answered. And you don't have any other problem. You have one simple problem that has been answered. The Course says you don't have to believe it. You don't have to accept it. You don't have to welcome it. It can startle you. You can find it hard to believe. Nobody's asking you to judge and analyze it. If you use it, you'll see that it works. Those are the instructions, right? So I used to not practice what the Course would say because I thought I had to believe it, or I also had to be able to pull it off. You know, like I had to really believe I'm one with you before I could actually say you and I are one. But the truth is, you and I are one, whether I believe it or not. So no matter what mood or faith I have, when I tell a truth, it's still the truth. So my belief doesn't make anything true true. It's true whether you believe it or not. You are loved 100%, completely, unconditionally, whether you think so or not. You are loved no matter what you've done, whether you think so or not. You are totally appreciated and free and abundant and eternal and spirit, whether you believe it or not. Whether you believe it or not, you have an eternal life. Whether you believe it or not, you don't really die. Whether you believe it or not, you don't really die. Whether you don't believe it or not, you do not die. You do not die. There is no such thing as death. You are a spirit. I need to hear that over and over and over and over again because I was not conditioned and taught to believe that about myself. So the Course says the way you let yourself have a new belief is you just say it and you repeat it until you accept it. That's how you change your mind about anything. How do you change your mind about anything? You say it until you believe it. You don't have to understand it. You don't have to necessarily know it's true, but if you say it enough, you're going to accept it as true. He says, and then when you accept it as true, guess what happens when you accept something as true? Then you perceive it. Then you see it. Then you perceive it. Then you see it. I'm telling you. Then that changes your frequency. That changes your vibration. That changes your consciousness. That changes your mind. And you start to perceive and you start to attract those who are on that same level of love and awareness that you are. They start to come into your experience. And that's how you change the people you hang out with. So every time you go through a major shift in your belief system and your consciousness, there are going to be people that drop off, there are going to be people that stay, and there are going to be people you need to release. In every major change of consciousness, there will be people that drop off because they need you to be the way you used to be, because that serves some kind of purpose for them. There are going to be people that you meet that also, I left one. They're going to be the people that are going to stick with you because they're going through the exact same changes you're going through. So there'll be the people you find you go through your changes, and for whatever reason, they're still in your life. You follow me? Okay, because they're shifting the same time you're shifting. But there are going to be people that will, I'll say it again, there are going to be people that need someone to do for them in their perception what you were doing for them in their perception. And there are going to be people that you know that you're just going to need to bless and release right now. And that's not a bad thing. I swear. I tell people all the time, if you don't like me, I'm grateful that you don't come around me and that you don't speak to me and that you don't do anything to me. Thank you. That's loving. And I promise you, I won't be trying to get you to stick around. Because I know that if you really saw my value, I wouldn't need to convince you. So watch out for those people in your life right now that you're always constantly trying to get to recognize you and appreciate you. They don't see you. So your one central problem has been answered. And do you have any other problem according to what we see? No. You mean that other stuff? You have no other problem. Therefore, you must be at peace. So when is a person going to be at peace? He says, well, a person is going to be at peace when they recognize their problem has been answered and they recognize they don't have a problem. So you don't feel really peaceful until you don't feel like you have any problems. See how sane that is and simple that is? That's what freaks me out about this book, because it's so simple it's hard to keep people's attention a lot of times, because it's so simple. You're lying to yourself if you say you know what your problem is and your problem has been solved if you don't have peace. So there's no such thing as a person in fear and conflict who's recognized what the real problem is. When he says, and whatever you think it is, that's not what it is. What is not your problem? What you think it is. Do you know that the Course in Miracles says, one of the advantages that you have of me having all this time dealing with the whole book is that I'm so aware of what every part of the book says, so I can bring it into the conversation. And one of the things that's so cool about that is that you recognize that nobody's doing anything to you because it helps you see how you're doing it to yourself, but you don't know it. I said again, the Course in Miracles teaches you how to recognize that nobody's doing anything to you. You're not a victim of anything or anybody, and that you're doing it to yourself. But the reason why Do you know the reason why a person doesn't realize they're the one that's doing it to themselves? It's because they've decided, according to the Course, to forget that they made the decision that is creating the situation that they're going through right now. So I make a decision, I forget I make the decision, then I start having these things happen to me, and then I blame you all for it. But I created it. But I just purposely forgot it so that I could appear to be the victim of things that's happening to me that I don't have anything to do with. Because when you feel like you're a victim and you're being attacked and things aren't going the way you want them to, does it make you feel separate? Yes. So the purpose of it is to keep me thinking I'm separate from love and to make me think I'm separate from God. And people go, what do you mean, Earl? What do you mean? Well, if I don't think I deserve love, anything that starts to love me that might disprove the fact that I don't deserve love, I'm going to get rid of them, and I'm going to get rid of that situation because I believe I don't deserve that love. So the hardest person to love is a person who believes they don't deserve it. So the next time that you're ready to jump into a relationship with someone that you know don't love themselves, and how do you know that? By how happy they are and how much they think of we instead of me, and how much they take responsibility for their experience, and how little attack do you see them doing, and how often are they trying to make people feel guilty? They're not. It's real easy to tell when you're around a person who is becoming conscious and becoming more loving. And being in a relationship with someone that's loving is easy. Being in a relationship with someone that's fearful is work. So the next time, I'm telling you, you're innocent, but the next time you hook up with somebody that you know doesn't take responsibility, projects, and they attack and they are sad, know that they're calling for love, and so you will have to answer a lot of calls for love if you become involved with that person on an intimate level, and hopefully your love for them is strong enough that you don't see that as a sacrifice, and you're glad to do whatever it takes to support them through their fear. Did you hear that? Now, if you're not ready for a relationship, or you got the wrong perception of a relationship, you won't do that. That's what the Course has taught me. That if a person isn't ready to let go of a pattern yet, how do you know? They're taking no responsibility for it. So the person that's not taking any responsibility is a person that's not ready to recognize the problem has been solved. That's what he taught. See, all through the book, what Jesus of the Course in Miracles is teaching me is how to tell the difference between when I'm making a wrong choice, a thought, or the right one. So that's why he says, salvation depends on recognizing one thing. A definition of salvation from the Course is right-mindedness. Another definition from the Course is forgiveness. So right-mindedness thus depends on recognizing this one problem and understanding that this one problem has been solved. Your happiness depends on recognizing this one problem and understanding that this one problem has been solved. One problem, one solution. 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 Did you remember when I said earlier that the way you accept a new idea is to hear it and repeat it over and over again until you accept it as true? That's why I'm doing this. I'm trying to practice what the Course is telling me. So I'm going to tell you one problem, one solution. You have one problem, it has one solution. You have one problem and it's already been solved. you have one problem, it's already been solved. It's already been solved. So could you say that for a minute? One problem, one solution. 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 One problem. Then I say, let me recognize my problems have been solved. 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 One problem, one solution. 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 Suppose there was a form of have you ever been part of a spiritual gathering where everybody chanted?
Yeah.
So what do you think would happen if we chanted something like, let me recognize my problems have been solved. Let me recognize my problem. And you chanted that as long as you chant things that you're saying that you don't have the slightest idea what you're saying. Most of those things that I go through, I'm saying stuff that I don't have the slightest idea. But it's the feeling behind it and the energy behind it. But what would happen if we were actually chanting something like that, something that we do understand, but with the feeling behind it? I'm just asking. Imagine that. Okay. One problem, one solution. Salvation is accomplished. Freedom from conflict has been given to you. I just gave you your freedom from conflict. It's already, I just gave it to you. The course just gave you your freedom from conflict. I am not holding you all responsible for anything I'm going through, anything that I'm feeling in my life. I'm not holding you responsible for it. Say it again, please.
Thank you.
Say it again, please.
Thank you.
Right. So freedom from conflict is being given you because I'm taking responsibility for me. So freedom from conflict is given you because I'm not blaming you and I'm not holding you responsible for what I'm experiencing right now and what I'm feeling right now. So in a sense, the way things are coming through me is the way they're coming through me, and it's not the only way it could come, and it's not the only way you can look at this. That's my disclaimer, okay? I'm never saying the way that what I'm telling you is the only way to look at it. What I'm saying is, it's no accident you're here and I'm here, and the people that are watching. For some reason, we need to hear what's being said right here, right now. It doesn't even matter who is coming through. I need to hear it. So if you thought you had 50 problems, would you feel more conflict than if you thought you had one problem? Yes. So if you just say, I have one problem, you'll feel better. If you could take it to the next one and go, it has been solved, you'll go to a brand new level of peace. So now, people ask me, well, how do you do the practical application of the course? Well, then it says in the next sentence, except that fact. What fact? The freedom from conflict has been given you. Except that freedom from conflict has been given you. And once you accept that freedom from your fears, conflicts have been given you, he says, then you're ready to take your rightful place. Now you're ready to take your rightful place in God's plan for your happiness. I'll say it again, because with the there's something about the course that I have so much. You can have so much resistance to it that even as you read it, you don't see what you read. Can y'all relate to what I'm talking to you about? You know what I'm saying? Like I said, accept that fact that you're ready to take your rightful place in God's plan for salvation. Accept that fact that freedom from conflict has been given you, and then you're ready. Now you're ready to accept your part in God's plan for salvation. Okay, so let me get this straight. The one thing in the universe that cannot fail, which we call God, that can do anything, including give me every level of joy and happiness that I could possibly imagine and beyond that, has a plan for my happiness. Okay, and I'm being told that I won't be able to take my part in that plan for my own happiness until I'm willing to start to tell myself and to recognize I have one problem and there's one solution to the problem, and that problem has already been answered, and the only thing that I'm being asked to do is accept that and to say that, even if you don't believe it yet. I'm asking for people like you who want to join with me, who wants to join with me, that are out there, that's into the Course in Miracles, that want to join with me in learning and doing the application of the Course in Miracles, and you want to hear it coming through me, and you really want to hear what you are being told in these instructions. That you don't want to sit around and analyze the Course. What you want to do is you want to hear what it's telling you to do to have more happiness than you've ever had in your life, and you want to at least hear what you're being told to do, fully realizing there's going to be a part of you that is going to want to go totally asleep. And there's going to be, I'm going to tell you something else you're going to do. You're going to be tempted to come up with every reason in the world not to continue to study together and to focus on this. I'm telling you now, I've done this for many years. When you make a declaration, the Course says the first thing that happens is the part of you that doesn't want to believe it's going to work gives you some type of experience to make you doubt what you're doing. So you're most likely to fail miserably when you first start to try to be more loving and forgiving. Okay, I'm telling you that right now. The minute you go, I really want to love everybody, and I'm going to look, that'll be, bam, your ego is going to come up with probably a situation or a person that's going to really upset you and make you mad and make you think none of this works, because there's a part of you and me that doesn't believe in this, and that we're joined, and that we're innocent, and that love exists. There's a part of you that believes you're a piece of crap. And there's a part of you that knows you are a priceless treasure. And I'm siding with the voice that says, I'm a priceless treasure. But I won't be able to accept I'm a priceless treasure until I practice on you, which is seeing you as a priceless treasure, whether I believe it about you or not. You know what? It's going to work. You know why? Because it's true. You are a priceless treasure. So when I say that to you, that's really what you are. You're believing it or not believing it, that's your ego. It's your ego that sits up in the chair and goes, you say Earl is a really cool dude. You don't know what he did a few years ago. And that part of you that wants to punish you for what it thinks you've done that you feel shame about, when you read something like the Course in Miracles is telling you you're innocent, it's the same to that part of you as if you were being let off the hook. I don't mind the universe letting me off the hook, but there's a few people that I absolutely want to see as guilty. and not good enough. The election cycle showed every kind of lesson we needed to learn about separation and division versus oneness. I don't care how you voted or didn't vote. That doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is that we realize we only have one problem, and that problem has been solved, and that problem is separation. And since we are not separated, that problem has been solved. So what do I need to do? I need to repeat that until I accept that fact that the problem has been solved. And what happens when you accept something and you believe it as true? What happens? You perceive it. And then that's how it shows up in your perception of your world. That's how you go into a loving world. Earl? Whew. To show you that I try to practice what the Course is saying, who can read that next sentence really out loud of the first paragraph, the first sentence of the next paragraph? What does it say?
Your only problem has been solved.
And what's the next sentence say?
Repeat this over and over to yourself today with gratitude and conviction.
What was I asked to do?
Repeat it over and over to myself.
What did we just do?
We did.
For a minute, right? Could you imagine the high you'd be on if you really wanted to do that and you did it for an hour? And you did it for an hour with people who wanted to do it? Can you imagine how fast your problems would start to be solved because you're finally obeying God? You're finally listening to what your higher power is telling you to do? If you've been having good stuff happen to you, even though you know you really haven't been as committed as you think you should, yet you still had incredible stuff happen to you, could you imagine what would start happening if you actually did what you were asked to do, which is really hard? Repeat this over and over. Have you noticed how hard it is to do this? Don't you think that should tell you something like that? Okay, who would be care to say out loud so other people can hear why you think there's so much resistance to doing something this simple? And even when we're trying to do it, you may have found yourself fighting unconsciousness and not having any enthusiasm about doing it. Notice that. No enthusiasm about doing the thing that'll get you out of pain. None whatsoever.
I'm not worthy.
Say it again.
I'm not worthy.
Say it again.
I'm not worthy.
Thank you. Anybody else want to say why it's so much, why you think there's no wrong answer, why you think there's so much resistance to doing the simple things that we are being asked to do?
Your ego doesn't want you to.
Down, please.
Your ego does not want you to do it.
And what is your ego?
Your ego is that part that thinks it's separate.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right. If you want to really make it practical, say it's the you with the Social Security number. Just say that, and you know what my ego's name is? Earl. When I went through this book one time, and you have a ball doing it, especially like the first 10 chapters or so, and everywhere you saw ego, you said your name. It would give you you would have a totally different perception of the Course in Miracles. And you would see how you really are identifying with the ego, that you really are acting out the ego all the time. Not spirit, not God. You're acting out the ego when you think you are what? Separate. But are we? No. So stop feeling guilty about it. There's nothing for you to feel guilty about. You could cuss everybody out the rest of the day in your mind and you're still innocent. Now, did I say they didn't have consequences? No. I say, do you think you're kind of increasing the risk factor that somebody would curse you out if you curse them out? That you're possibly increasing that possibility. So yeah, you can go out there and do whatever you think you want to do. But don't you fool yourself for a second to think that that's not going to be mirrored back to you some kind of way in your experience. Now, if you're willing to have it come back, you know, it's like being in a relationship with somebody that you give all the freedom in the world to do whatever they want to do, but then on the other hand, they turn around and want to limit and restrict you. But they still want to do whatever they want to do, right? Well, that is going to create a reality where they will create more and more people who it looks like are doing things that upset them, because they're going to have to eventually give what they're going to have to eventually receive what they're given. You're going to always eventually have to, but the truth is you receive it the instant you give it. I used to try to be loving and then look for it to come back, and it does in a way, but what the Course taught me was at the instant that you give it, you're receiving it. Like if I give joy to you and I feel good and I want you to feel good, I feel good doing it. So I receive it the instant I give it. I don't have to wait for it to come back. And guess what else New Thought teaches is that it will come back to you in the way you need it. So it's not going to necessarily come back to you through the people that you gave the good thing to or you did the good act with. So don't necessarily look for it to come back from the person that you gave it to. It's going to come back how you want it, because the problem's already been solved. You're not going to come up with a problem that hasn't already been solved. That's what it's been solved. There's a way to have prosperity and abundance. That's been solved. There's a way to have health. That's been solved. That we are one. That has been solved. You know what I mean? That's why you call a repairman, because he already knows what to do to get the TV working again, because that problem's already been solved. So what you want to recognize, brothers and sisters, what you want to recognize is you're not smarter than God. You're not being expected to come up with the answer. As a matter of fact, the prerequisite for you to get help is you stop trying to come up with the answer on your own by yourself using your wisdom based on what you've learned in the past and experienced in the past, because all you're going to do is take right now, think of what happened in the past that didn't work, and then you're going to use right now the most powerful moment there is to project that thing into your future and then experience it again. You don't know what the problem is, Earl. We don't know what the problem is. We don't know what the problem is. We haven't recognized what the answer is. And that's why we still think we have the problem. But we're not even being asked to do anything but repeat this over and over to yourself today, with how? With gratitude. And what? Conviction. You have recognized, what have you recognized? Your only problem. Why am I working out of the book? And why do I work out of the book? Because I realize the Course in Miracles can be a difficult book for people to read. And I want to help you see that it's not as difficult as you think it is, so that you can get the power that reading this does. Because what I've seen in 44 years is the people who read the book seem to be the ones that get the answers, the solution obvious to them, and get the benefits faster. Not people who just listen to audios and videos, even though those are helpful. You see me, you'll go to classes. You know I must believe it's okay because I'm sitting up here doing it. But let me tell you again, out of 44 years and being with other course teachers that I know that have classes and do stuff with there's something about A Course in Miracles that when you read it, problems get solved. Miracles happen that you didn't even think or know how it could possibly occur. Did you notice that did not require your understanding anything? So stop wasting your time trying to understand the Course and start spending more time trying to hear what it's telling you. Because then you'll know what to remember and then you'll know what to do. I don't know anything about aerodynamics, but I've flown on jets many times. So if for y'all to get home for Thanksgiving, depending on me knowing how planes fly, you too for that matter, you never get there. Get rid of the belief that your understanding is necessary for you to get a problem solved and to have a healing in your life. Stop believing your understanding is what will allow you to have the most beautiful relationship that you could ever imagine that you could have with anyone. All you have to do is to start by telling yourself, let me recognize my problems so they can be solved. Let me recognize my relationship problems have been solved. Let me recognize my love life problem has been solved. Let me recognize my problem has been solved. That is what the Course is saying that a person should do if they would love to see that their problems have been solved. I'm saying this over and over again so that I won't forget it as soon as the class is over. And I go back out into my illusionary world for the people lying to me all day by telling me that they're separate from me, and me lying to them by acting like I'm separate from them, and them blaming me and me blaming them, and me thinking specialness and having one person love me more than anybody else is going to be the thing that makes me really happy, and that I'm this body that can get sick and die. I'm tired of being a black man. I'm tired of being a body. I'm tired of all of the descriptions that people are giving me and the labels that they're giving me for what I am. I am not this body. I am not Earl Purdy. I am a spirit. I am the Christ. You are the Christ. You are God, playing like you people. But the problem is you've forgotten it, so you think you're separate from each other and you think you're separate from God. So you need to hear your one problem, thinking you're separate from God. You are not. That you're separate from love. You are not. That problem has been solved. And stop choosing people in relationships who do not appreciate you. Okay. Oh my God. We got 15 more minutes. I love this it. I have to say it that way. I love this it because we know words will kill people. You know, they say, hear a curse word. Oh my God, he didn't say, but I'm a spiritual giant. But words take me down. Right? The more you recognize that you're innocent, the more people can say anything they want to say around you without you getting upset or without you attacking them. Because you realize their words do not have any more meaning or power than you give to it. So all of a sudden you're not policing people and trying to control them. How can you tell if a person is really afraid? Course says, well, fearful people are controlling. So the more controlling a person is, they're more frightened. So when you're frightened, you think you're going to be safe by controlling everyone's behavior around you. Okay, so when you hang out with frightened people, know that there's a good chance they're going to try to control you so they can feel safe with you. So they got a list of rules that you have to obey for them to feel safe with you. How can I tell when I'm around somebody I really see as my friend? Well, the person I truly see as my friend, I don't censor myself and I don't think before I speak because I'm trying to gauge the effect of what I say is going to have on them. The person that I do that with, I know that's not the one that I'm supposed to be close to right now. Like if I'm with you and every time I have to think before I say something to you, I'm not going to really talk to you. If I think you're going to fix me and correct me and change everything I say, even if you think you're doing it for a good reason, then I can't feel free to talk to you. So I feel separate, even though we're not. So I need to remind myself that there's one problem and there's just one solution. And there's just one problem, there's one solution. I'm seeing this person is separate from me, and this problem between us has already been solved. How many times have you actually said that when you were in a dialogue where you felt uncomfortable, where you said to yourself, there's only one problem, there's only one solution, and it has been solved? How many times have any of you who are studying the course ever said that when you were in the middle of a discussion that seemed to be uncomfortable? And in my many years, I haven't met anybody that it has. Zero. You would think out of all these years I've taught the course that you would hear people who are studying it say, I'm never upset for the reason I think. I'm upset because I'm seeing something that is not there. Only God's planning for some salvation to work in this situation right now. That's why there's a response to the situation. Or me saying, okay, me and my boyfriend having a hard time right now. Let me recognize this problem with my boyfriend so that it can be solved. So what I mean is as a Course in Miracles student. Why? Because it's what has been given to you in order for you to have the miracles of healing that you want to have in your life. The Course in Miracles was made for you, not your cousin, not your brother, not all the other people around you necessarily, but it came to you. So therefore, it was made for you, and you will know it by the way you feel. So what happens is, he says, we're neglecting what was made for us. So how do I show that I'm not ready to neglect it anymore? Then when he says something to me like, repeat this over and over to yourself with gratitude and conviction. Okay, even though it's a part of me that doesn't want to do it, but would be tempted to forget to say, let me recognize the problem, that the problem has been solved. Let me recognize my problems have been solved. Let me recognize my problems have been solved. Oh, I don't know how I'm going to pay this gas bill. Let me recognize that problem has been solved. Then deal with it. I got this situation happening with my child right now. Let me recognize this problem with my child has been solved. Then deal with it. Do you tell yourself the truth first and then deal in the outer world? Or do you always deal in the outer world and first before you say what has been given you as a Course in Miracles student, for instance, to say? And that's what hit me one day. It was like, oh, I see what's happening. We're not doing what we're told. So when I say I haven't heard somebody say that back to me, it's not a criticism or condemnation at all, because my ego is the same way. But what it does do is it helps me understand why they're not getting any of the results that they want. So all of a sudden, it doesn't mean the course doesn't work. It just means the person's not doing what they're told. But they think they are. Wow. Wow. But then he just told me, well, if you really recognize the problem, it would be solved. So that's all you need to know that you should be repeating more and more, one problem, one solution. Let me recognize the problem so the problem can be solved. So let me give you another tip. Even if you couldn't do that all the time, you could make the decision that you're going to do it. If that's, for instance, your lesson that day, you could make the decision that you're going to do that for a day. Or you could make the decision you're going to do it for an hour. Why is it so important? Well, that's a good question, boys and girls. The reason why that it's so important is because it will simply give you everything you've ever desired in your heart. But you have to deal with your self-esteem issue, or you won't do the simple things that are necessary for God to bless you, and you know it. I need your help. I'm so messed up, I don't even want to do simple things. I need your help, brothers and sisters, who are the same way they're noticing, they are hearing this, but they are not, but you know you'll forget it. Or you know you have a hard time focusing in on what's being said. That's because Spirit just gave us an easy way to have every healing that we want to have, but it's more than we think we deserve. And that's why I believe people don't get excited about what I'm saying from the Course. Because you're talking to people, including yourself, who doesn't believe you deserve to really be loved and be without problems anyway. And so I'm not ready to hear what would give me everything I want. And I'll admit that. Okay, so now that's done. So what do you do next? I start to accept that I'm going to say, let me recognize my problems so my problems have been solved. That I'm going to say, let me recognize my problem has already been solved, then make the phone call Or I'm going to say, let me recognize my problems have been solved, then I'm going to go to the doctor. I'm going to go, let me recognize my problems have been solved, then go to the wellness center. Whatever you think your problem is, whatever you think your unfairness is, whatever you think your issue is, whatever you think is making you unhappy right now, would you please love yourself enough to just say, let me recognize my problems have been solved. And I realized I wasn't doing it. I was spending more time trying to figure out more complicated answers and reasons going all the way back to my childhood and all that other stuff that I was telling myself. I was trying to figure out whether this was something that's credible or not. But I wasn't simply saying, I feel afraid right now. Let me recognize this problem has been solved. I'm really angry right now. Let me recognize this problem has been solved. I'm feeling jealous right now. Let me and why am I using the so-called negative stuff? Because if I was already thinking all the positive stuff, I wouldn't have nothing I'm working on. So we do need to use the stuff that we want to see changed. Wow. Now remember, at the beginning though, when you first start trying to do this, that's when you're going to try to create the most situations and circumstances and people that's going to make you feel like it doesn't work. You always introduce your biggest resistance against a change when you first make the decision and you first make the declaration you're going to do it. Then that's when you try to introduce the most problems in it, according to the Course. And that makes perfect sense. Yeah, because your old self doesn't want you to believe you could change. Because your old self has been in charge all the time. Let me recognize the problem has been solved. Let me finish this paragraph, because it doesn't matter how fast I go. Really doesn't. I'd rather remember one thing that this book is saying today didn't know the whole thing, right? Okay, can I handle something easier? So ask yourself right now, can I handle something easier? Can I handle my life becoming easier? Can I handle my life becoming easier? Can I handle my life becoming easier? Can you handle, are you okay? I'm asking you, are you okay with your life becoming easier?
Yes.
Wow, so much enthusiasm about that. My God, whoa, my word. We're ready for that to happen, aren't we? We can't wait for that to occur. I want as much enthusiasm as a Broncos game. That's my standard. I want to see some truth students that get as excited about the truth as they do about all the other stuff. Right? Wow. Oh, man. I thought this was the page that I wanted it because it was something that was so cool I wanted to share with you. That's okay. Okay, I'll have it ready next week. Okay, because it's perfect. I want to finish this paragraph because I feel like an hour is nothing in terms of really hearing this and how much it thrills me to hear the truth. And I need some folk to feel the same way. I need some folk like you all and others that feel the same way, that you don't have a TikTok brain, that you could actually focus in on something that's longer than 20 minutes or 15 minutes or 10 minutes or 5 minutes. I refuse to take my classes down to that level of attention. If you don't have no more attention, then you can focus on the course of your spiritual path than 5 or 10 minutes. I would venture to say it's not really the path that you are devoted to. Mm-hmm. Or you want to spend more than 10 minutes. It would be enough. It would be just getting you cranked up. After 44 years, do I seem depressed about teaching the course? No. Because it's what I'm here to do. If you are not feeling inspired and energized and excited about what you do every day, you are not following God's guidance. You're not following God's guidance. If you have no joy and excitement about your purpose and what you're going to do in the world, you're not bad. You're not going to be punished. Nothing's going to be done to you. You're not going to be condemned. But don't you say you're following Spirit's guidance, that you're following your higher self's guidance. You are not. That is how you are guided to your true path. You're guided to your true path by recognizing all the things that are not a reflection of what you want. You have one problem, it's already been solved. Your one problem has already been solved. Then it says right here, why is it that the problem must be gone? It says, well, the problem must be gone. Why? Because God's answer cannot fail. What? Every problem that we think we have for any reason whatsoever, those problems must have already been solved because God can't fail. The Creator cannot fail. The Creator cannot fail. You can fail. Separate from your Creator, you can come up with a lot of plans that don't work out. That's how you know the plan didn't come from God, is because whatever that plan is, it didn't go the way you thought it should, you felt like a failure, then that means that you were not following the true plan. So it doesn't mean you can't finally be happy and have a life that thrills you. It just means you actually can, because you've just been doing all the stuff that was wrong for you to have that. So it's still possible for you. It wasn't God that failed. If I fail, then I still can have what I want, because the real plan could still happen. So be glad that your plans have failed, because the way you were trying to make yourself happy had to do with believing it was something outside of yourself that had to happen in order for you to be happy. And you were trying to come up with the people and situations and circumstances that could fulfill your fantasy. So you don't realize it, but you are only trying to use people to fulfill your fantasies. And in wanting to use people to fulfill your fantasies, you're going to fail because nobody was put here just to fulfill your fantasies. So they're going to always do something that you didn't expect because you're not controlling them. So if I'm with you to fulfill my fantasy, it's going to be times you're going to not do that because you were not put here to fulfill my fantasies. So my only problem is me being separate from the truth. So I love you so much, and I feel so connected to you. Thank you for the communications that I've been getting from people here, but also online. Because when you teach and do what I do, a lot of times you don't know how people are reacting and what's really going on in the inside, or whether you're reaching anybody at all. So the part of me that still wants to feel like I'm validated, even as I learn I don't need to be validated. I'm very grateful to those of you who have reached out to me and shared with me through email and messages how much my teaching the course and the way that it comes through me has been very, very, very helpful to you. And because I want the Holy Spirit to speak through me, to come through me. I want God to use me. I want God to use my body. I want love to use my body. But I want to give it to people who want it and who are open to it and who know they have issues and blocks, but they want to get past it. I'm asking for what I want, because every time I get a chance to practice the truth with you, I'm healing the world, and you're healing the world, because we're finally doing what we're being asked to do so we can have the kind of fun and joy and happiness that we want to have. But there's going to be a part of you that's going to fight this like hell and not want to do it. So no matter how you're feeling or how much your ego is resisting, still consider pursuing your path and doing your study no matter what. I want some sincere truth seekers. I want to be a part of you. I want to be with you. I want to teach you. I'm asking for people who want this as much as I do to come into my life, or I'm going to freaking explode, because I have so much energy that wants to come out. I feel like those movies, those alien movies, where you start, because the love is about to jump out my chest, right? But what I've learned in 44 years, if you try to give love to the part of you that's not ready for it yet, you just scare them, or they think you're a liar, or they think you got some game that you're trying to run down, or they just don't come around you at all. So let me recognize that problem has been solved. So acknowledge yourself right here, please. Chris, give yourself what you'd like to receive. Yes, give myself and I like to receive. I am so glad to be here doing this. I do it on a love offering, a donation basis of a full-time teacher of the course. If you'd like to make a financial expression of appreciation, then just go to my website, www.earlpurdy.com, or you can use Venmo, the Cash App, PayPal, or Zelle. All you need is my email address. That's earlpurdy@earlpurdy.com. 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 Could you imagine living for 37 years where you're asking people for money? You realize how weird that is? But you know what? The truth taught me that the way you receive is to ask. And I didn't realize that the importance of asking. Because then you don't put a limit on yourself. See, the thing is, that doesn't put a limit on what I could receive. But it calls for more trust. But that's what you do. The more loving and the more you start to wake up, the more you want to take limits off of you. And you do that by taking limits off of everybody else and making it okay. So I'm asking for, look at me again, I'm asking for those people out there who are excited about A Course in Miracles, really want to read the book, really want to study, really want to work with me, really feels like it comes through me in the way that works for them. I will give you everything within me as a teacher of God. But I'm asking for enthusiasm, and I'm asking for devotion. And that's what I'm asking for. Because enthusiasm creates. Enthusiasm creates. Enthusiasm creates. I'm available for coaching, mentoring, and advising using the Course in Miracles. I'm also available for astrological and numerological soul purpose readings and interpretations. You came here with talents, abilities. You came here with a purpose, and that can be revealed to you. You can see all my videos on Facebook and also on YouTube. Every Sunday, 1 o'clock p.m. Mountain Time here in Denver. You can come in person, 1555 Race Street, 1555 Race Street here in Denver, Colorado, and join us. We've got a nice, little, powerful, intimate group that's focused in on the truth together. And they are beautiful, and they're priceless treasures. And I'm more grateful for them than I can say. And I guarantee you, I'm going to still be doing this on Sundays at 1 o'clock, no matter who comes, no matter who watches. I am still going to do as much of this as lovingly as I can, looking for, recognizing there's one problem, there's one answer, because remember, the Course in Miracles says everybody in your life is there because they were sent to you. Everybody who's here today was sent. Everybody who's ever come to any class I've done, you've been sent. Those of you who are watching, you've been sent. So know that no one's ever absent in your life that you need. No one's absent that you need. So anybody that's absent in this moment, you don't need them. Those who are absent, you don't need them. No one's absent that you need. And I'm so grateful for you. So grateful for you. Oh, I'm so hot. I swear, man, it's like somebody cut on a heater inside of me when I be doing this stuff. Well, mighty companions, this is the end of this particular episode of the Course in Miracles. You have only one problem, and it's been solved. Your one problem has been solved. Your one problem is already, your one problem is already been solved. See you next time. Oh yeah, go online and you can self-book your clarity session or your appointment with me. www.earlpurdy.com for more information. I want to see you. I want to work with you.